and I'm sure our viewers are very glad they didn't get to hear about that particular thing. You'll have to wonder what that is.
Can that be part of the recap next week?
Maybe. It depends. Do you want to remember that?
I
Depends
don't.
on how much pain medication he has.
The phantom pain, I can feel it already, and I don't really want to think about it too much. All right, so let's start with last week's recap, or last session's recap. It wasn't sure as hell wasn't last week. Brandy, did you want to do it since you just updated the notes?
Did I want to? No.
Okay. In that case, someone volunteer before you're voluntold.
Could somebody other than myself, because I actually have zero recollection. I don't know.
I have to be honest, I'm blanking right now as well.
It has been a while. Would you post the link to the notes, Brandy?
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and do it. Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thanks.
Brandy, but thank you.
Let me remember where I am, because I'm doing two different things now. Here we go.
Yeah, it's the reason I hate missing
I
sessions.
tried to talk to some dead people.
Was that last week? I mean, last session?
That might have been the week before.
No,
I think it was.
Not last time. That was the time before.
Well then.
Talking to dead people
Ford went
wasn't
to
done
check on
before.
Wisdom. I went on my date, and Rafe.
I don't even remember. I don't even remember what I did. I'm pretty sure I went to go back to see what kind of progress they've made.
Yep, exactly. Dean went to his shop, check on things, and grab a notebook. He went to the University District in Sharn. Went with him. He wants to do some research. He wanted to do some research on the spy and historical activities of House Cannith. He decided to limit it to the House Cannith in relationship to the borders of the Mournlands after the Day of Mourning. I didn't do my thinkies. Originally, the House Cannith was based in Sire.
Right.
So Dee decides to focus on the relationship between House Cannith and the Mournland. Cord and Wraith check up on Winsome and made some progress and have a hypothesis. Winsome asks Cord if he'd like to help out, and the intact device is in a special holding container. The other device they protect as well as they can, but they can't make any promises. If someone knows they're here, they can find them. That's why the wands are there. The two wands that are on duty introduce themselves as Tahal Ardark, who is an elder elf, and Vazgar Treeth, who is a human. Wraith watches while Cord gets involved with the investigation. They're working with the broken device, taking samples and analysis. And they set up a circle to do a more detailed examination of the dragon shard. Gemma goes on her date, and it was mostly Gemma from then on out. He shares that he isn't directly involved in anything. However, he knows a couple of people. He wouldn't necessarily bet his life or reputation on them, but he has some suggestions of who Gemma can talk to. Some are not working on current events, but they've been studying what has happened. Skimming through because I took way too many notes. He basically, after talking about just life and what it was like in Sire while he was battling, he gives her a list. Oh, he tells her some of the rumors he's heard about Sire. The most far-fetched of which is that a group of Warforged seem to be trying to build their own god. They're trying to make a god to represent the Warforged. And he's heard that some of them are coming into Sharn to find people who can help make the god, mostly Warforged like themselves and artificers. They are definitely avoiding House Cannith, as the Warforged actually created them and feel like they own them. He's heard that they're either offering mapping. He also has heard that there's a mountain turned entirely into glass. There's another place where there's a lake of lava, another lake warm and red as blood. He's heard that things are pretty much as they were left, frozen in place, locked in combat. Lots of rumors, nobody knows if they're true or not. He writes down a list of his acquaintances that might be helpful. Sometimes professors at Morgrave need a little bit more incentive to share information. He shares that Professor Drazen is not exactly female-friendly. Juliana Bartel, Eric Snellview, and Frodus Hindram. And that was basically, most of it was Gemma's date.
Yeah, it was primarily Gemma on that. All right, so as we mentioned last time, you guys are going to have a few days that we're going to cover in little scenes and montage and stuff like that, where you guys are waiting for information, still doing your own research, but you know that this sort of thing is rarely solved immediately. Usually, it's one of two things: either it's solved in the first day, or it takes a while to get figured out and find whoever did these sorts of things. And right now, since you're past the first day, you're definitely in the waiting game, waiting to find out information about the residents of the apartment tower. You're waiting to hear back from some of your contacts that you've mentioned, still needing to go around and do your own investigations and such. Waiting to hear back anything more about the nature of the devices and that sort of thing. So we're going to go around and we're going to hear what everybody's done, what everybody's planning on doing for those few days, and go scene by scene for that. You can focus on what your character is doing primarily. If any other character feels like they should jump into a particular scene or action, you can go ahead and do it. But don't like narrate somebody. Oh, me and Cord went here. Just kind of keep it limited to your character, and people can jump in as they need to. So let's go ahead and start with Wraith. What is Wraith doing for the next few days? What to contribute to the investigation and such?
It's hard to say what I could contribute to the investigation that I haven't already attributed. Winsome's probably my best contact or best NPC in regards to this investigation. Not knowing a lot about Artifice, and not knowing who we really need to point our baleful eye at, I feel like I would focus more on security. That's what I feel like I would do. But how that necessarily benefits, I'm not entirely sure.
So you're basically focusing on the security angle? Is that what you mean?
I was thinking, yeah, that's probably what I would do, is focus on the security angle and maybe kind of keep my ears to the ground. Or I don't know about ears to the ground, because I'm not necessarily sure what I would be looking to glean. But I would figure if I was working the security angle, I would be angling towards like looking for patterns, looking for specific individuals, like repeat individuals, and things out of the ordinary, to see if that there's some folks trying, maybe to see if there was somebody that was going to make moves on this facility. Even though it's heavily guarded, we've seen in the past that even heavily guarded, well, that was ruined by Lucian. So, if I could stop something before it happens. So that's what I kind of feel like I would be doing.
At the university, right?
What's that?
You're talking about at the university, right?
Yeah, at the university.
And you also know, you were there when they told you that even though they've shielded the lab as best as they can from any kind of magical scrying, that the fact that they're working on this stuff means that it's almost impossible to completely prevent anybody who's really determined from finding it.
Right. So I mean, it may not be that they can stop it from being found, but perhaps I could give an advantage if somebody were to try to infiltrate or perhaps even assault the location through my vigilance, as it were. And that's all I can really think about contributing. That's all I can really think that I could contribute, I should say.
Okay. Well, if you think of anything while we're going through everybody else, then we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll keep
Um,
thinking about it, but I just it's Winsome was my most relevant give.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
do any of your backgrounds give you an idea of what you might do while you're doing this?
I
Are you
mean,
open to suggestions?
yeah. I mean, I could take a suggestion if you don't feel it's too meta, Aaron. But um, I mean, my changeling infiltrator and my ebon path poisoner. I mean, those would be the ones I feel would be most applicable in terms of trying to like look for something, and I don't see how they're wholly beneficial. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I know how I could help. I don't know.
I've got a definite suggestion for you. Um, there was still some muck and mess down in the lower quarter that never really got well uh, researched. I mean, there's gonna be information down there, and your changeling infiltrator is ideal for being able to go to pretty much just walk down there as a completely different persona and sit in a bar, listen. I mean, you could camp out for 2, 3 days, just kind of get the lay of the land.
Well, what am I specifically looking for, though? I can't
Uh,
recall what kind of hoopla we had going on down there. Was that the Cannith?
That was
well,
mostly we were trying to follow back any sort of path that uh, because it looked as though someone had come in from below in the tower, so we were trying to follow back any sort of path we might be able to find there. At this point, that's probably a cold trail, but
There's also the idea that you basically use your changeling abilities, your infiltrating abilities to go into different places and just see what people are saying about this too.
Oh, I guess that could be helpful. Just meander around as an unknown and just kind of.
Because sometimes the thing about information collecting is you have to collect a lot of information and then uh, strain it out to see which of it is relevant. But if you don't have that volume of information to start, then you're not really getting anywhere with it. So
Okay.
collecting any information sometimes is a good thing in situations like this, and you never know when you might stumble on something, or when something looked at in retrospect is going to be important.
Okay, I guess that's fair. That sounds a little bit more like a little bit more my field. That's good. I could do something like that. How about I would probably grab maybe 3 different disguises to get me from what I would consider probably from lowest class to middle class to high class, and just kind of spend a little time in those various tiers of living, and just kind of get a feel, just like you said, just kind of sift through rumor and talk and goings on, and um, probably when I'm in the lowest class, probably dress up, probably feign to be kind of a sailor or something along those lines um, from the shipping lanes, and in the mid class, probably like out of city merchant and high class, probably spoiled brat, and just kind of mess around in like I said, in those various popular haunts of those particular levels of those classes, as it were, um, just to kind of gather info, see what folks are saying about anything. Honestly, what the rumor mill's going on.
Okay, give me 3 rolls. Give me Changeling Infiltrator twice, and then for the high class, I want King Shield Diplomat because that's a
Okay.
different kind of feel to it.
All right.
Plus Charisma on all.
On all. Okay. Let me. Sorry, I meant to open my character and I did not. Let me pop that out right fast. Okay. So we want to go Changeling Infiltrator, Charisma. And that's 1. And that's 2. And we'll just go from low to high on this.
Okay.
And then Diplomat. There you go.
Okay. So when you head into the lower wards, everybody's kind of clammed up. Any unfamiliar face gets treated with a little bit of suspicion. Nobody's really opening up. You buy a couple rounds of ale for people in some of these dives, and they'll like not appreciably, but even when you ask them questions, they're kind of in a mind your own business kind of mood. They're not asking questions. They don't want to be asked questions. And you don't really pull away a lot. You get the sense that people are scared and angry about something, but you don't know if it's actually relevant to what you're investigating. There's a lot of things that could be causing strife down in the lower wards. The Dragon Mark houses could be cutting prices or wages. I mean, there could be union problems, stuff like that. There could be a lot of things, and nobody's really giving you a straight answer because they just don't recognize you, and you could be somebody around fishing for information, which is entirely true, but they don't necessarily know that for sure. When you hit the middle wards, you get a lot more coming in. I mean, the people in the middle wards are a little more invested about what happened because they're on the same rough tier as the apartments that had the problem, that had so many people killed. There's definitely a sense of worry and concern, especially considering that there's been no official explanation for what's happened. There's been no announcements of somebody being caught and sent to trial. There's nothing going on. So there's a lot of rumors flying around about what happened, what's being done, when it could happen next. It's definitely really tense in the middle wards. There's a lot of adventurers going around, kind of looking into it for their own sake. You get the feeling that they're kind of poking around at it just in case there's something that maybe they could get hired for and get and make some money off of. But that's just the thing. There's a lot of rumors. There's not a lot of stuff in the way of hard facts or information being passed around. A lot of the stuff you're hearing directly contradicts what you happen to know. Like, for example, the amount of dead people has been inflated considerably. On the lowest rumors, it's something like 70 or 80 people, but on the highest rumors, the rumors you're hearing the most often, it's more like 150 or 200 people were killed by this.
Yeah. Okay.
As for the and as for the rumors as to what actually happened there, they are all over the place. There's something from the Outer Plains got in there. It's an agent from one of the other nations, probably Drome, because if there's anything people in Brayland like to do, it's blame Drome for a lot of stuff. it's like Trump blaming Mexicans. But it's there. There's a few things that come up consistently when you start talking about who might have done it, and what you realize after talking to a lot of these people is that there was a few people who should have been there but weren't, and you don't have any specific names, but the word you hear a few times is Kalishtar.
What was that?
Kalishtar.
Kalishtar.
Shattar, I think.
K-A-L.
You, after hearing it a few times, you realize that there were more than a few Kalishtar who were apparently lived in that apartment complex that were not there the night that it happened.
Okay.
Either you don't know if it was something deliberate or if it was just a coincidence, but as far as you know, there were Kalishtar did live there. You don't know how many. The rumors are not really specific on that count. Kalishtar are relatively rare, so and given how people treat rarities, there might have just been 2 there. There could have been a half dozen there. You don't really know for sure.
Okay.
What you do know, after realizing that, is none of those people have, as far as you know, have come back to the apartment.
Okay. Good. This is good info. All right, and that was that I got the Kalishtar bit from the
middle class, yeah,
Middle class,
basically. You got a lot of other information from them too, but you don't know what's the wheat and what's the chaff
Okay.
for a lot of it. But the Kalishtar has come up often enough that you think it might have a grain of truth to it. You don't know the context, but you've heard enough on that to think it might be worth potentially looking into later. As for the upper class, you realize that they really haven't heard a lot about this. You start asking around about, have you heard of that devastating thing that happened down in what was it, Stormhold? I think it was. Yeah, Stormhold. Where all those people died, and how terrible is it that they haven't caught the killer yet, and you realize that they really haven't heard a lot about it.
Oh, okay. To make sense, disconnected from anything that doesn't directly impact them.
Well, to some extent that seems to be the case, but you also realize that some people who probably should know about it haven't, and there are some conspicuously absent individuals for some of these gatherings and events that the rich and powerful end up usually going to. House Cannith, not a lot of the Dragon Marked members have been making public appearances lately. And you hear rumors that they're working on something important, and there's a lot of stuff going on. None of it specifically seems to link, but because it's something that it sounds like it's been done before, like the House Scions will have to come in and work on stuff. You hear some more of the rumors about the way that House Cannith has been unofficially split. It seems that some of the people in the upper wards are more privy to that sort of information, where it's like they know that there's the feuding between the different sides of House Cannith, and for the most part, the rumors attribute their absence to that sort of thing. There's political ongoings within House Cannith, and they're playing things close to the chest. You also run into a number of House Madani members, which is unusual in and of itself, because House Madani, except for the highest ranks, tends to keep to themselves, which is generally within their MO as kind of a counter-espionage oriented house. They don't want people to be used to seeing their faces or hearing their voices. But more than a few House Madani agents have been higher ups, not necessarily agents, but higher ups have been at the soirees and the different gatherings of the rich and powerful in Sharn, and they seem to be. The others don't really recognize it, but you recognize that they're fishing for information as well,
Okay.
along the same lines that you are. But from what you can tell, they don't know as much about what's going on as the lanterns do. But they're definitely poking around some more at what happened there, um, and you're not sure why. That you haven't got enough chance to discuss with them, um, or pick their brains on the sly to see why they might be interested in what's happening there.
Okay. Good. All right. This sounds like it was good. All right.
So
Cool.
you're leaving towards the end of the few days. Yeah, Juandi has a Madani relationship. Um, so towards the end of these 10 days, you leave one of the soirees in the highest towers. Um, it's a city gathering. There's a lot of people important to the city who are there. It doesn't seem to have a real purpose. It's just the rich and powerful have decided to get together and throw themselves a party, that sort of thing. You weaseled yourself an invitation, got inside, mingled, collected a bit of information, none of which was terribly interesting. Sampled the incredibly good food and wine. But on the way out, you're accosted by a beggar. Man in ragged clothes comes up to you on one of the skyways, bumps into you, puts his hand on your shoulders, says, spare a few gold for a veteran. I need some. I haven't had a meal in days, sir. Just a few coins, please.
Um, he's not making my poisoner senses tingling, right?
Give me a roll.
All right. Damn. And what do I want to use?
Wisdom
Wisdom.
is the perception thing.
Did it work? Wait, I lost it. There we go. Ah, poop.
Yeah, nothing about him seems unusual. He certainly smells like somebody who's been living out on the streets. And he doesn't look. He looks like a veteran. He's definitely scarred. He's definitely beat up. He's got the kind of bulbous nose from somebody who's had that broken a few too many times. Um, and he's got his hands on your shoulders, and he's got a really strong grip. I don't know what do you look like right now?
At Skyways, I probably would have just finished with the upper class stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I probably would be wearing. I would be wearing finery of the current fashion. Which I'm not entirely sure what that would be, but it would be nothing like super ostentatious, but certainly in fashion to fit in better. And probably would have gone with darker colors and marvelous hats. Yes, I think that's a good one, Lucan.
Yeah, a nice tricorn
marvelous
hat with a
hat
feather.
with a big plume hanging coming out of it.
Yeah. There you
Yes.
go.
So dress something along those lines.
Yeah, Lucan does have a way with magnificent hats. So yeah. So he's got a really good grip on your shoulders, and he doesn't look like he's letting go, but he doesn't seem to be any more aggressive than that. He's just he almost sobbing, trying to get a few coins from you.
No big deal. I give him a kind smile. I pat his hand, in part as a gesture of they're there, but also if he gets it as a gesture of get your hands off me. And I'll fish a good meal's worth of a good meal and drinks worth of gold out of my pocket or my purse, and I'll hand uh, back of my hand up. I'll hand it, put my hand out to him to deposit that.
What did you hand him?
Gold. Tell me how much. I'm not sure. If I would assume I would know, but I just don't know off the top. Or like 5 gold probably for a good meal, maybe a cheap place to stay and a stiff drink.
Okay. So he takes it and he goes, "Thank you, sir. Thank you. He's there's tears coming down the side of his cheeks, and before you can stop him, he gets you in a big hug, and as you notice the smell, you hear him whisper into your voice, "They're following you," and then he lets go and says, "Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much." And then he walks away.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly not going to react to that. I'll just bid him farewell, farewell, wave, and maybe even pull out my handkerchief and wave it, farewell, farewell, and then make a show of wiping off my shoulder and things like that, and tucking my handkerchief back in my breast pocket. Not going to increase speed or anything along the lines, but I am going to try and move I'm going to move to a more populated area, and hopefully places where there's glass, so that maybe I can get reflections looking behind me to see if there's a consistent tail as I move into various. I make a show of moving into various marketplaces and look at this
let me
stuff.
cut you. All right, so you're leaving one of these soirees. It's
Okay.
late.
Oh, it's late. Okay.
This is like 11 o'clock at night, midnight, somewhere in there. It's not at a time where a lot of places will be open, even especially in the areas you're at. I mean, even if you're going down into the middle wards, which I'm not. Are you going to the middle wards, or are you walking through the upper wards?
I would probably stay
right now. Let me
if
show you.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because right now you are right there,
Okay.
basically.
All right. If I go into the middle wards, the possibility of, if they're aggressive, I feel like the guard presence would be less and/or slower reacting. So perhaps staying staying in the upper wards until I can find a place to change my persona. That would probably be for the best.
Okay, give me a changeling infiltrator roll.
Okay. We're gonna stick with wisdom on that one, or?
No. In this case, let's get Dex on this one.
All right.
Because you're trying to lose this hypothetical tail, and try not to be noticed by anybody else while you're doing it.
Oh, sure I am.
25. Yeah, you're pretty sure that you duck into like not an alley, but kind of almost a cul-de-sac in one of the towers. That none of the businesses there are open. All the lamps have been doused, and you're able to get in there, and nobody comes in. Nobody that you recognize or have seen tonight walks past, and you're able to change your persona in there, maybe adjust your clothes and that sort of thing.
Okay. Good. So then at that point, I'll start making my way back towards. I assume the university is probably as good a place as any. Back to Juan de, or I'm sorry, back to Cord. and then probably before I get to the university, make one more change into Iron Morn to be back to being the King's Shield, and which is a face that they recognize there at the university.
Okay, give me another roll. Nighttime by the university is a lot more busy than really you thought. There are students walking all over the place. A lot of the businesses are still open, especially like the restaurants, the cafes, the bars, that sort of thing. Even some of the bookstores and other places where you can get parchment and that sort of thing. It's a university district. There's a lot of students going around working on projects, a lot of professors who are doing their own research and that sort of thing. So you have a hard time finding a place where you can stop off and change yourself back to Iron Morn without people being able to stop in and see you. So you've either got to go someplace that's a lot more private, or you're going to have to just go to where you're going as who you are right now.
Probably aim for. I really don't want to walk in and then shapeshift there in the university in front of the people who know me as a King Shield diplomat, because I've been maintaining that face for a while as being human. So if I have to find a place to get more out of the way, then I'll do that.
Okay. It's for the most part, it just takes you more time to find a place which is more quiet and secluded, where you can change yourself back. It adds at least another good hour onto your travel time. Let me see. I need to check something. And yeah, it just seems to take a little time to add on. Were you planning on doing anything else on the security? Like, were they waiting on you to do something?
No, I don't believe that they were actually waiting on me to do anything. I've just kind of made it my business, since I don't really know anything about artifice. I've made it my business to kind of take a part of this, take a slice of the security duties onto myself, even though that we're pretty well staffed. So honestly, it's just me being paranoid.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much what you've gotten in your few days.
Okay.
Let's head to. We're not going to get to everybody tonight because I don't want to go. I only want to go about an hour 15. So we won't get to everybody. So if there's anybody who wants to go, tell me now. If there's anybody who feels like they still need time to decide what they're doing over this time, let me know that too, so I can skip you and we'll come back to you next week.
I can go, and it should be pretty quick.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go with Lucan then.
Basically, I'm heading around to Dagger Watch. I want to talk to some of my old colleagues from the Swords and basically have them keep an eye out for any sort of news, crime, or disturbances, whatever, that's coming in regarding either the area around the tower or Kenneth.
Okay. Let's see. So let's get some rolls.
And besides that, I'm pretty much going to, because I assume I have to check in every so often with the wands and lanterns regarding my whole vampiricness. I'm pretty much going to spend the rest of the time, I think, learning more about that myself and adjusting to it and learning my capabilities. Hopefully trying to remember some stuff.
So who are you going to go to like learn more about your nature? Are you going to do it about solo, or are you going to try to work with somebody?
As far as that one goes,
Ignore-
I had figured that I would have some handlers in the wands who were taking care of the enchantment stuff.
Yeah, there are some
So I figured them.
some lanterns masquerading. Well, they're not really masquerading, but they're lanterns who are within the wands.
Yeah.
That's their cover is with the wands. It's okay, mate. There was thunder, and the dog is not happy about that.
The dog's a dog.
Yeah, it doesn't always bother her, but sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, no
Uh,
worries.
So yeah, you've got a couple people at the wands who you knew they were wands before, and since you've become a Dark Lantern, you also became aware that they're also with the lanterns.
I imagine I pretty much woke up with them embedding a crystal in my chest and was like, oh, this is new.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, at the time they were like, well, I guess our relationship has changed.
A little bit.
So all right, yeah, give me a name on one of them.
Charlene. I don't know.
Yeah, Charlene's just fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
She's a dwarf.
Charlene the dwarf. All right. All right. So you go meet Charlene at her workshop in Daggerwatch to discuss things. Everybody there pretty much knows who you are. Very few of them know about any changes. They just seem to think that you've got a thing for Charlene now. That's the rumor going around with the swords in Sharn, is that Lucan is sweet on the dwarf named Charlene who works for the wands. Have you done anything to dispel that rumor?
No.
So when
rumor.
you come by, there's a few kind of snickers, and there's a few winks from people. There's your fellow swords they're just giving you shit.
I tip my fabulous hat to them.
Yeah, they're not implying that Charlene is a horrible person or anything. They're just like, Lucan was a bit of a playboy before, and the fact that he seems to have settled on somebody that they know is deeply funny to them.
Who's he flirting with then?
Charlene, the dwarf.
Everyone.
Charlene, let me give Charlene a last name. I can do that real quick.
Ark.
No, I'm gonna give it. Basically, I'm not sure I should allow Lloyd to name anything. So
That might go double for me.
When I'm actually behaving, I'll behave, but I'm not behaving yet.
all right,
If you,
so it's
if you allow me to name
Sharn.
things, you get boss's name George, so it's,
So it's Charlene Solderak. I'll put the whole name in there. She is from the God, what is it? The Morrholds. But she emigrated to Breland decades ago. She's about your age in terms of the dwarf lifespan, but she's much older than you in absolute terms.
right.
It's okay, man. It's alright. You okay, puppy? Come on, girl.
Sorry, my wife exploded.
That happens to Canadians sometimes, I'm told.
Yes, it does.
If you need a new one, we have a puppy.
No, I'm good.
That was
Anyways.
wow. In non sequitur terms, that was still really impressive.
Yes, it was.
Wait, what?
I don't know. Don't ask.
Yeah, that was
Whoa.
wow. Yeah. It's okay, man. It's all right.
Anyways, yeah, so I'm pretty much figuring that she would be attempting to adjust the magics or use her own spells to try and recover the knowledge that's been
It's
lost.
like a weekly checkup sort of
Yeah.
thing. Well, not quite weekly. It's more like every 3 or 4 days you have to come in and say things. And it's like going to a doctor in a lot of ways. You get asked a lot of questions. How are you feeling? Do you feel the urge to, bite down on somebody's neck and inhale their blood through their neck through that hole?
Only one that pissed me off.
That sort of thing. It's tedious. It's not the most fun in the world, but it's something you got to do. And Charlene's nice enough. She before. Were you friends before? Did you even know her at all? Just acquaintance.
Yeah, like a lot of the wands and swords would be aware of each other, have met in certain ways, but I wouldn't say that this was a close relationship or anything, though.
Okay. But she's warming up to you. I mean, before she was acquaintance because you just didn't really work together. But now that you're having to spend a lot more time interacting with one another, she's warming up to you, in a relatively meaningful way. She talks about what she's doing with her life. Nothing classified, of course.
Sure.
What she's doing as kind of the usual, like I said, almost doctor-patient kind of discussion. But this time she's a little more businesslike. She's like, well, we've gotten word that we have to keep a bit of a closer eye on you. This has come from Rote. It's nothing that anybody here in Sharn has done, but somebody in Rote has heard of what's happened, and they're a bit concerned that we have a vampire running around. Even if we've got your vampirism under control now, No, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is right now.
I understand.
We're gonna need you to.
But,
yeah, I know. It's we're gonna need you to come in a little more often, every other day. Somebody from Rote is coming here to do an examination with me. Rote, W-R-O-A-T. It's the capital of Brayland.
Okie dokie.
yes, which isn't Sharn.
No, Sharn is not the capital. It is the biggest city, but it is not the capital.
It's like Albany.
I was about to say it's New York versus Albany.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison. Let me move you on the map real quick, and I'll show you where Rote is in comparison. It's basically up the river. I have other maps of Rote, but you don't need
Sharn
to
is
right
a
now.
giant vertical port, so New York.
Yeah.
There you go.
Very much so. So Charlene is like, she's very apologetic. She's not. You can tell she's not really happy about this either. And you get the sense that it's at least in part because she doesn't like having people look over her shoulders either and second guess what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, let's just for a little while we'll do this. We'll make them the pencil pushers happy. We'll get them out of Sharn, and then we'll be fine, and we'll go back to the usual schedule. The ward seems to be holding. Let's get a look at it physically. I mean, we've never had to implant something like this in someone before, so it's a bit of a new thing to all of us here.
Well, I'm happy to be unique.
Then in that respect, you're very much the case. So you pull open your shirt and she pokes around at this. What does the crystal look like? What does this charm look like that's embedded in your chest?
So we had discussed that it's basically a Kyber shard, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
to essentially bind the vampiric curse into itself, so it's not in me.
Okay.
Uh,
So has it been shaped? Is it set in
I
like
figured it was basically
metal?
the shape of a steak,
A stake? Okay.
because that makes a lot of thematic sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the if you think to the Dark Crystal, the Jim Henson movie, I'm thinking of like the shard implanted uh, vertically in basically on your sternum.
Yeah.
Is that about how you're picturing it too?
Well, I mean, the way I pictured it was that it was basically driven directly into the chest, but like literally stake through the heart. Except this one uh, is binding things together in the end.
Okay, yeah, no, that works just as well. So there's like just a bit of it sticking out of the
Yeah, probably about an inch and a half or 2 inches wide at the end of it, like that.
okay.
Maybe an inch and a half. Let's go with that.
So that's probably a pretty expensive dragon shard. That's
Yeah.
a that's not the smallest of dragon shards, but it's also probably not amazingly expensive either. So
Mhm.
yeah, kind of like that, but the Kyber dragon shards are more like a geode in terms of color.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar. That's more like the shape, but it's like a geode in
Basically
color.
a spike of purplish stone.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a swirling purple stone, and it's got a faint glow to it. It does have a faint glow to it, in parts because the dragon shards are inherently magical themselves, but also in part because this one's actually being used in conjunction with the spell for the binding.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's
she,
about what I
she
was picturing for it. So
yeah, okay, that works. I'd pictured it differently, but hey, let's get on
it's
the
all
same
good.
page. So she pokes around at it, feels the skin and around it, making sure it doesn't look like it's inflamed or infected or anything like that. Um, you see her take some instruments that you don't really recognize and examine it. Along with taking some, like, she has you lay down and she puts some alchemical substances on it and then observes the reaction. It's all stuff that you, for the most part, you've seen her do before. And after
Hmm.
a while, she has you sit up and says, "Well, everything seems to be looking okay. Uh, the bureaucrat from headquarters will be here in 2 days. Be here a little early. Be on your best behavior. I know I don't need to say that, but they're looking. I have the feeling that they're looking for any excuse to put you in jail or put you down. So let's not give them one."
Right. I'll be sure to do that.
In the meantime, unfortunately, I have to hand you this. And she gives you a small, it's almost like a pocket watch, but when you open it up, there's a dragon shard inside. And she says, "You have to hold this until we're done. It's a focus for a scrying spell so that the higher ups can listen in on you and watch you whenever they feel they need to."
I see. Uh, can I ask who is ordering this extra surveillance?
This has come from the higher ups. Irvalen has told me to do it, but the order didn't originate from her.
Gotcha.
That much I'm sure of, because Irvalen, she was swearing more than a little bit as she talked to me about this. As far as I know, it's come down from actually it's come from Captain Eleanor, the head of the King's Swords.
I see.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
bit unusual in that respect, but I mean, obviously they were made aware of your unique status, and Captain Eleanor decided that you needed to have a closer eye kept on you until such time as they could verify that you were still the Lucan that they'd hired and worked with, and not the Lucan who made a break for wherever the hell you were going.
Right.
Trust is an easy commodity to lose in this community, unfortunately, and difficult to regain back again.
Well, I can't say I fully blame them, but hopefully this goes well and doesn't take too long.
Hopefully, I agree, because, I mean, as I like seeing you in here, but let's face it, I don't want to see you in here every other day to do the same stuff over and over again. It's a waste of both of our times.
You should tell that to the people passing rumors around out there.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Have you guys made any headway on what's going on with that?
Not quite the rumors I was referring to, but we're working on it. We have some leads moving forward at the moment. Can't really say a lot more.
But nah, well, either way, I don't have any time for. I don't have anything else to do. So you're free to go on your way. Again, I'm sorry for being the bearer of bad news.
Hey, not a problem. I don't suppose you've come up with anything more to try and recover these lost couple weeks of memories, eh?
It's difficult, honestly, since if you were fully alive, it would be one thing. If you were fully dead, it would be another. And I'm sure we could find something, but you're in between, and I don't think that some of the ideas that are being floated around are going to work. We're talking about it, and when we have some better ideas, some more concrete ideas, we'll have to bring you in and make a go of helping you recover them. But it's possible that they might not be recoverable at all.
Yeah, but you can always hold out hope, eh? How many people have suggested fully killing me and trying to speak with dead yet?
Yeah.
Try not to let them, please.
I don't think it's going to come to that, but the idea has been floated around a couple of times. I've pointed out that, having a zombie in the office is not going to really do us any good. But then again, a couple of the people who are saying it have had some bad experiences with the undead, so I think they're just looking for an excuse.
Hey, they can come talk to me. I've had the worst experience with the undead.
Well, until then, hopefully we can make some progress in figuring out what happened to your memories. From what we've picked up from our research, it sounds like it's common with vampires that their mind is basically filled with their sire, their master, for a while, and that's a necessary thing for completing the change. But we haven't had any real life vampires to actually talk to, so it's hard to substantiate. But that's one thing that we're examining to see if that might be the case. However, if that is the case and we can recover those memories, we might be able to find who turned you and go after them, which I assumed is something that you would definitely be interested in.
Oh, for sure. I've been very disappointed that I don't even remember that much, so that we could actually take that route. But hopefully we can get there.
I agree. We don't want something like that running around Sharn. Assuming they're still even in Sharn, there's no way to tell for sure, obviously.
I don't even know if I was in Sharn when it happened.
That much I think we can make an educated guess on, but you're right that we don't know 100%. In either case, I won't waste your time any further. I'll see you in a couple of days at the usual time, and I'll be your biggest advocate for whoever it is that's coming to interview you.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Charlene, Madame. I'll take my leave.
And it's good to see you again. Hopefully, one of these days we'll be able to meet under better circumstances.
I ask you for coffee, but I don't really drink these days.
Yeah, that's awkward. Thank you, Lucan. So she gives you a little wave, and turns back to what she was working on before you arrived.
Okay. I head on out.
All right. We'll go ahead and stop there for right now because it seems a good stopping point. And next week we will pick it back up, hopefully with everybody, and get back to the usual schedule. I'm sorry for all the sessions that I've missed. I know it's kind of a pain to be looking forward to gaming and then have the rug pulled out from underneath you just a few hours before.
Whatever, man. Personal health always comes first.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, it's one thing if one of you has to miss a session. I mean, it sucks, but the group as a whole can go on. When I miss a session, nothing happens. So it's I feel a little more responsibility on that side of things when we miss one because of me. I don't feel bad about it, but I still feel I should apologize for it. But yeah, next week, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll go for the usual time in terms of length, and we'll get the rest of the montages done, and hopefully get you on to the next section.
Sweet.
So.
All right, gentle beasts. You all have a good eve.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Latest.
Hey, Aaron, before you go, there was something important that I missed for the notes.
Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and stop the broadcast.